Hello, and welcome to Inside the Virtual Village, where I, Kelly Austin, help higher educators online create dynamic learning communities within their courses. I'm so glad that you are here to join me today. I did not want to write my post today. I wanted to get some things off my chest. And you can tell from the title, Modifying Instruction for Your College Students, that this topic may be something that's just not a thing in higher education. Although I've been in higher education over 15 years and teaching online for 15 of those years, I have a K-6 background in terms of my bachelor's degree and a K-12 reading specialist certification in terms of my master's degree. So I have a different perspective when it comes to instruction, I think, than some of us in higher ed who are in different fields, let me say that, or are outside of the field of education. So I want to share a little story or what happened to me last night and last week. I teach a course called Language and Literacy in Early Childhood Education, and for that particular course, I use a discussion framework called Learning Through Discussion that I have adapted to Learning Through Virtual Discussion. And that framework was created by William Fawcett Hill. I have been implementing that in my courses for about 12 years now. And because it is so powerful, so successful, it is such a growth promotion tool, I use it in that course because language and literacy is the very foundation of teaching. And many elementary school teachers do not know how to teach reading and do not know how to teach writing because it's very difficult to teach someone how to teach other people to do that in just a semester. And so I found as an undergraduate, going into the field of education or as a graduate going into the field of education, that had it not been for me teaching at a suburban, upper middle class type of school, that I would have been lost. Now, I'm one who is a seeker of knowledge, so I would have figured out a way. But I think I would have been lost had I had many students that did not read well. Fortunately, at the school where I taught, we had reading recovery teachers at the time, and the 2 or 3 students in my class that read below grade level got support in that manner. I was also able to learn how to teach writing because I was mentored by Dr. Dottie Hall, who co-created the 4 blocks with Patricia Cunningham, Dr. Patricia Cunningham, who was a professor at Wake Forest University, and she may still be there. I haven't even looked as of late. But the point is, I learned how to teach writing because I was mentored and became an actual trainer. And writing is something that I love to do, and reading is something that I love to do, but I learned to do it through doing, okay? And then in my master's degree program, I was fortunate to work at the clinic, a reading clinic at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Shout out to the Spartans. But I was able to work in a reading clinic for a whole year as a part of 2 courses that I had to take, part A and part B of the same course actually. And I was able to help students that were significantly below grade level, 4 and 5, years below grade level. I was able to help them to get closer to grade level or at grade level within that year. It was a beautiful thing. And so I say that to say that modifying instruction is just who I am. I'm not a cookie cutter type of teacher. I never have been. And the fact that I had a passion for not being a cookie cutter type of teacher is what prompted me to go, or compelled me to go to graduate school and to get a master's in curriculum and instruction, because I wanted to know how to get the learner from point A to point B, okay, in a satisfying, fulfilling way. How to create instruction that meets the needs of the student. So here we are in 2020, and I'm teaching this course, and we're implementing the discussion framework, the LTD discussion framework, which is LTVD in my virtual classroom. And my students, let me say this, I recognized a couple of years ago, I said, well, let me give them a little training module to go through before we actually have class. So I started doing that, I think 2015, where they go through this module. It's a 14-page module, and at the end they take a quiz on the whole process. They actually watch a live session or recorded session of the process. I actually share with them some articles on cooperative learning, some videos. The works. They get the whole, so they can understand the rationale behind us using this strategy in our online course. Now, this course is synchronous, let me say. We actually have a block scheduled time from 6 to 8:45 to meet to actually have class, which I am so grateful for that my university does that. So I gave them these 2 weeks to go through the module. It's called the LTVD Independent Study Unit. I let them go through that, and then they take their quiz, and then the following week we have our first session. Well, I must also say that I also give them tutorial type videos to help them, to guide them through completing a template that they complete called the LTD template. They complete this template to prepare them for the discussion. So I'm giving them all this preparation as I've done all my other students. In the past 4 years, I've given them videos. I've given them this independent study unit. Before that, the training was actually with me, where we just had class and they learned as they went. So I was so very shocked last week when we began and we embarked on this LTVD process, that my students started out, doing really well with the vocabulary. Then we got to the author's main message, which is always very difficult for college students for some reason. The ones that I have been teaching, it's difficult for them to capture the main message of an article. So we went through that phase. I'm used to that. We get to a part where they pull out the major themes and subheadings, which I have them create an outline to do that. And they struggled with that. And so we had to have a teachable moment and go through that process, even though I had created a video specifically for this particular section of the template, showing them how to do it. So fast forward, we get to the end of class, and we didn't get through the 8 steps of the LTVD. We didn't get through it. And I was shocked because this has never happened before. So I said, I had to think about, are we going to regroup and revisit this article again on next week? Or do we follow my syllabus and go to the next article and teach from there? So it took me a minute because there's so many gems in the article that we were reading, but we did cover a lot of it as we were talking about those themes and in the article. So I really felt good about them understanding the content, because we went through every single paragraph basically of the article and kind of discussed it. So I decided that we would continue with the syllabus, because in higher ed we have our syllabus and we have to get through our, get to the end. So I decided, so that I wouldn't hold them back, that we would continue and discuss our second article, which was about using sign language in hearing children, having hearing children to use sign language. I said, okay, we're going to go ahead and go with that article. We went with that article, and I decided that we would have a training session where I would be the group leader and demonstrate for them how this process is supposed to flow while training them at the same time. So we went through the article, and this time we skipped the major themes and went through steps 5 through 8. We did steps 1, 2, and 3, and then we skipped number 4, which is the subtopics and major themes, and we went through 5 through 8. And it was such a great session. Do you hear what I'm saying? We didn't go through it from top to bottom like my classes have done in the past. And this was a first for me having to do this. It was kind of like I had to spoon feed them. But you know what? It was okay, because they learned so much from the spoon feeding. And they said that this session has really helped me to understand. One student said, I know you had the videos and I should have watched it and stopped it and studied it, but I didn't. But this doing it with you really helped me. And so I have two things to say to you today. If you're in higher education and you're listening to me, if you're in distance education and you're listening to me, if you're a dean or a chair or anybody who has any control over your offerings of your programs, I want to say, number one, talk to the instructors. You have to be willing to modify your instruction for your college students. Adult learners are learners. Adult learners are learners. Plain and simple. And I know that I've experienced from being in college where, a professor has their syllabus. These are the papers we're writing. These are your grades, and that's it. And you might have really good discussions in class, but the assignments are etched in stone, and this is what we're doing. I don't ever recall, and maybe I don't know because I was on the student end, feeling like a professor was modifying anything for us, the learners. It was like we were on the professor's schedule, the professor's track, the professor's path. And I've had some dynamic professors, don't get me wrong. I can name about 4 that I love to this day that make me have warm fuzzies inside. So I'm not saying that I didn't have good professors, but I'm just saying that just as in K-12, teachers often feel like they have to rush to get the content out because they have a test they have to take at the end of the year. I think that oftentimes we follow our syllabus, but how often do we say, they're not getting this? And so I need to adapt and change some things to help them to get it. Now, the issue with that in distance education is that most of our programs are asynchronous. And then when we do have synchronous sessions or live sessions, those sessions are very rarely, and I'm going to be presumptuous and say this just from the studies that I've been reading, they're very rarely cooperative learning type of sessions. They may be live lectures, or they may be, let's go over the assignments that's due this week. Do you have any questions? Q&A type of sessions, which I really don't like. But so they're not opportunities for students to grow in a social construct with other students. And so I want to say, number one, modify your instruction for your students. And how can you do that? What do you have in place in your course design that allows you to say, okay, I know I said we're supposed to be on, this is my discussion board post for week 3. I've already, it's been preordained that this is what we have to talk about. When have you looked at what they posted for week 2, and how do you get a feel and how do you assess and evaluate whether they really understand that concept before you go on to the next? I want to give a shout out to Kumon. My daughter went to Kumon from 2nd grade up until just this past December, and she's in 8th grade, and I'm letting her take a break. But what I love about Kumon is that you learn the same concept over and over and over again. You practice the same concept over and over again until you master it. You don't go to the next concept until you master it. But how often do we do that in higher education? Well, for me, my students are going out into the world as teachers, as educators, and it is important to me that I prepare them beyond what a textbook can offer, but that I help them develop those soft skills of communication, problem solving, collaboration, of leadership. And I told them that, I said, when you finish this course, you are going to see that you have grown in so many areas that have absolutely nothing to do with the content that is going to blow your mind. Now, you're going to grow in terms terms of learning how to teach reading and writing, but you're going to grow. You're going to be more technologically savvy. You're going to be able to be a better listener, a better communicator. I mean, I get so excited about my synchronous courses and the way that I have them designed. Toot toot. Yeah, that was me tooting my own horn. But I just want to admonish you to consider your course design as you look at what is best for the student, not simply getting the students in to increase our numbers. I realize higher ed is a business, but really being concerned about the quality of instruction that's going forth in the distance learning space, and the quality of instruction that's going forth in our face-to-face classrooms as well. We've got to unpack, what our purpose is, and really get back into the business of ensuring that our students receive the transformation that they are paying for at the end of every course. And so, now that I'm going to get off my soapbox, I want to encourage you, whether you're a dean, a chair, an instructor, I want to encourage you to really think about how can you ensure that you have the freedom in your program to allow your instructors to modify instruction as they see fit, and to design courses as they see fit. And if your instructors say, we really need to have class, let's not let distance education and the convenience of it supersede the reason why people are in higher ed in the first place. And that is to gain knowledge and gain skills that are going to prepare them for the marketplace. So I would love to hear from you. Share with me your thoughts on modifying instruction for college students. Do you do it? And how do you gauge it? How do you do it in the distance learning space? Until the next time, I wish you well, and I look forward to helping you master the art of teaching online. Bye-bye.